today's session, we will discuss uh, the assumptions of the regression model. So let's go straight to the assumptions, and let me quickly add before I start making my presentation that today's class also will be very heavy in the sense that there will be lots of things which will be told to you, and unless you pay full attention, chances are that you will not get the north and south of whatever I'll tell you. So please pay attention, and this is also very, very important for those who want to eke out a career in the academic and research and training field. In fact, even if you wish to become a human resource professional and manage a particular business organization's human resources, you will still need to be excellent in statistics, excellent in quantitative techniques in order to do your job well. So it would be in your all-round interest to follow today's lecture in absolutely in toto, so to say. And then you can do so only if you
Sir,
pay
you're not audible.
100%. Sorry? I'm not audible.
Sir, you are audible. I guess he's having some connectivity issues.
Okay, so because this is the volume which I always set, and I have been taking my classes with this volume, and I think so maybe you can check your audio settings, maybe you the answer of your question. Fine. So let me try to start making a presentation. Okay, so there we are. All right. So this was the last slide which we had discussed in yesterday's session. Then today we will discuss the assumptions of the regression model. So what is the first assumption? First assumption is that the form of the regression equation is linear. So towards the dying moments of last session, I had shown you a particular slide in which we had traced the path of mean of y's for fixed values of x. Do you remember that? This was the one. This was the ones which we had finished our discussion with in yesterday's session. So how did we explain this particular diagram? Let us just spend 1 or 2 minutes to revisit this diagram, because unless you have understood this diagram, then the first assumption that I'm going to explain to you shortly will not be fully understood. So tell me, what do these stand for? X1, X2, X3, X4, what are they? Can you recall what are they?
The level of education.
They are the number of years of education completed by people. So let's say X1 is class 5, X2 is class 6, X3 is class 10, and so on. Fine. What do these dots right above X1 represent?
Sir, income of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people.
Or
yeah, X1 level of education.
Yeah, these dots represent the levels of income earned by whom? By people who have completed X1 years of education. And then what does this point, which we have denoted by small x show? What is this small x?
Mean of that income.
This is the mean of all the values of y, all the income values. This is the mean. So likewise, what does this mean indicate? What is this for?
The same for X2 income.
Yeah, this is average income of people who have completed X2 years of education. Likewise, what does this X stand for? This is the average income of people who have completed X6 number of years of education. So in this way, we have X1, X2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 7 different levels of X, and therefore we have 7 different levels of mean. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we have connected them. We have connected them. And this is the curve which we get after we connect them. But this is not a straight line. We are assuming that the regression line that we will have will be a straight line. So if by connecting the different means of y for fixed values of x, you end up getting a straight line like this, if you end up getting a straight line like this, then that will be called a linear regression line. Is this clear? So that will be called regression equation, which is linear, or regression linear. This is the first thing. The second is that the distributions of the y values for each x are normal. Now this is very, very, very important for you to understand. So far we have said that there are many y values for each fixed value of x. So let's go back this earlier slide, because most of the discussion will be based on this one. So you have 7 different points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 different points associated with x1. Now these different points could be something like this: 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 65, 75. So these are the values. Let's say these are the 7 values. Now, what we are saying is that these values are normally distributed. These values are normally distributed for x equal to x1. Likewise, you will have x equal to x2, x3, x4, and for each of these fixed x's, you will have different values of y, and they all will be presumed to be normally distributed. Now the question is, what is normal distribution? Remember that when we were discussing the concept of frequency curve, I had told you that a very frequently occurring curve is a bell-shaped curve. Remember that? And what are the characteristics of a bell-shaped curve? Of course, one of the characteristics is that it is a symmetric curve, in the sense that if you drop a perpendicular from the peak of the curve, then the entire curve gets split into 2 equal halves. But what were the other properties that I mentioned? What about this? What are the other properties? Or what were the properties that I did mention when we were discussing this concept of bell-shaped curve? Do you remember that I had told you the mean, median, and the mode, they will all be Are you there?
So they will all be equal.
Equals.
They will all be equal. So what is a normal distribution? A normal distribution is a distribution which gives you a bell-shaped curve, a symmetric curve, and where there is no problem in choosing mean, median, and mode because they are all identical. So this is what we are assuming, that for each x, we have a distribution of y which is normal. For each x, we have a distribution of y which is normal. Okay? So this is what is meant by this particular line, that the distributions of the y values for each x are normal, and that the variances of the distributions are the same for each value of x. Now, can you recall what is variance? What is a variance? What is the formula to calculate variance?
It's
The
a square of
square of standard deviation.
standard deviation.
So,
Yes.
square of standard deviation. So you first find out, sorry. Yeah, so basically I have not written it correctly. This is standard deviation square or sigma square. And how to calculate sigma? It is summation of x minus x bar whole square divided by n root over. Move the root, square it, you calculate this. So that's how you get the variance. So what we are saying is that for each x, the values of y are not only normally distributed, that is, that their mean, median, and mode are all equal, identical, but the standard deviation of y values for each fixed axis will be equal. What does that mean? So let's go back to the earlier one, this one. So suppose for x1, the standard deviation, or rather the variance of x1 is equal to, let us say, 12. For x2, the variance must be 12. For x3 also, this variance should be 12. For x4, for x5, for x7, they should all be equal to 12. That is what we are saying, that the variances of variances of the distribution of y for each value of x must be the same. This is called homogeneity of variance. Homogeneity of variance. And it is also sometimes given a very, very horrible kind of a name. I'll tell you what that is. If the regression of y on x is linear, that is, if the regression line is a straight line, then we can write the regression equation as y is equal to alpha plus beta x. And if you notice, this is nothing but the equation of a straight line. And most students who have studied simple algebra in class 7 or 6, they must have been told that the equation for a straight line is y is equal to mx plus c. So in place of c, we have written alpha. in place of beta, in place of m, we have written beta. And in place of small x, we have written capital X. So basically, this is nothing but the equation of a straight line. And I have already told you in terms of assumption number 1, when will regression equation be linear? Okay, next. So what are alpha and beta? They are constants. Alpha is called the intercept. Alpha is called the intercept, and alpha is the value of y if x is equal to 0. So if education of a person is 0 years, that is, if the person is illiterate, then what is the expected income of that person? Income is alpha. So this is first. What about the other one? The beta is the slope. Beta is the slope of the straight line. Beta is the slope of the straight line. Since this constant indicates the magnitude of change in y for a given change in x. So what does slope actually mean? Slope actually means that if x changes by 1 unit, then y will change by how many units? Beta times x units. That is beta into 1. So that is the slope. And in the next diagram, we will try to explain these two diagrammatically. But I would also like to draw your attention to something written here. Greek letters. You know, alpha and beta are Greek letters. Why are we using Greek letters? We could have also used a and b, like y is equal to a plus bx. Why are we unnecessarily complicating things? So basically, why we are doing this is that we are dealing with the total population. We are dealing with the total population. So whenever we deal with population data, then the notations used are normally Greek letters. So Greek letters are used when we deal with population data. Population data. And when we deal with sample data, then we do not write alpha and beta. Then we write A and B. This is for sample data. So you already know the difference between population and sample. Something in its totality is called population, and a part of that population is called a sample. So if you are studying the whole population, then the constants of the regression equation will be noted in terms of Greek letters like alpha and beta. But if you have collected only a sample of the population and calculating the regression equation, then you will not use alpha and beta, you will instead use A and B. So I hope you will now be able to remember when to use alpha and beta and when to use A and B. So this is the diagram through which we can explain what we have just said about alpha and beta. So if x is equal to 0, what is the value of y as per this regression equation? This is the regression line. This is the regression line. So as per this regression line, if x is 0 here, if x is 0, what is the value of y? It is alpha.
Sorry, alpha.
Right? Any question? Are you asking some question? I couldn't get you.
No, sir. I was answering that y equals to alpha.
Okay, all right. Okay, so if x is 0, then y is alpha. Now let us presume that x is equal to x1. If x is equal to x1, what is the value of y?
bx1.
Y is equal to y1. This one. Y is equal to y1. Now, if x changes from x1 to x2, if x changes from x1 to x2, then what is the net change in x? Net change in x is x2 minus x1. That is 0 or OX2 minus OX1, which is equal to x1, x2. This is the extent of change. That is what we have written here, x2 minus x1. This is the change. Now, when x1 changes to x2, what happens to y? y1 becomes y2. So how much has this been a change? How much change is this? There are two ways to indicate this change. One is that y has changed by y1 into y1, y2. This is the change. This is the change. This y1, y2 is equal to beta, that is the slope, multiplied by the extent of change in x, that is delta x. So what is x? x1. So that is the extent of change. Or you can also write x2 minus x1. So that is why we have written x2 minus x1 into beta. This is equal to y2 minus y1. So this is called the slope. So what I explained in terms of words in the last slide have been explained in terms of the geometry in this slide. And I hope you have understood it. What is alpha? Alpha is intercept. What is beta? Beta is the slope of the regression equation. But they are the intercepts and slopes when we are dealing with what data? Sample data or population data?
Population data.
Population data. Okay. But the logic will remain the same even if you deal with sample data. Only the notation will change from alpha to A and from beta to B. Okay. Assumptions continued. Now, this is even more difficult to imagine, but just pay attention, maybe you will be able to. So it was indicated that we shall assume that y's are distributed normally about each value of x. हम लोगों ने कहा था ना, if for each value of x, the distribution of income will be normal. That is, mean, median, and mode will be equal. And if you plot the distribution, you will get a shape. Then it will also be convenient to assume that for each fixed value of y, the x's are also normally distributed. So let's go back to the main diagram, this one. So we assume that for each x, y's are normally distributed. But what about the distribution of x for each y? So let's say instead of x1, now we have y1, y2, y3, y4, y5, y6, y7. And these are x's, that is education. These are education. So what is Y1? Let us say Y1 is 20,000 rupees per month. Per month. 20,000 rupees per month. Now, let us say that there are 10 people in the population who earn 20,000 rupees per month. Now, what will the distribution of X mean in this case? A thoughts on this? Let me see whether you can, or how much can you think? So we now have fixed Y instead of X. And instead of distribution of Y, we have now distribution of X. And if one of the fixed income levels is 20,000 rupees per month, then what will distribution of X show? In other words, what will these points indicate?
Sir, again the level of education.
Hmm?
The level of education again.
Yeah, level of education. So let's say there is a person whose name is Shyam, and there is another person whose name is Akbar. They both earn 20,000 rupees per month. But Shyam has studied up to 10th class. Akbar has studied up to 12th class. Let us say there is another person called Julie who also earns 20,000 rupees per month. But Julie has studied only up to 5th class. And then a person, say his name is John, and John has studied up to 7th class. And then you have another person, let's say that person is Angelina, and this person has studied up to class 9th. So in this way, you have number of persons who have received different levels of education. But what is common among all of them?
Their earnings.
That their earnings are common, that they all earn 20,000 rupees per month. Once again, we will assume about Y or distribution of Y, not Y, about distribution of X, everything that we assumed for distribution of Y. So
So the common will be 5, sir. Up to class 5. We can
What?
also say that up to class 5 all have studied.
No. What we are saying is that whoever we have checked, whose income is 20,000 rupees, their education levels are different. One has studied for up to 10th class, another 12th, yet another 5th, 7th, 9th. There may be another person, let us say that person's name is Sunil. Sunil has not studied at all. Let's say 0 years. Sunil has not studied at all.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So that's the point that we are trying to make. So that is what we are saying. So let's go back to the slide that we were discussing. That it was indicated that we shall assume that the Y's are distributed normally about each value of X. It will also be convenient to assume that for each fixed value of Y, X's are also normally distributed. And if that is so, what term do we use? We call it bivariate normality. Bivariate normality. That is, for each X, Y is normally distributed, and for each Y, X's are also normally distributed. When this happens, then we call it bivariate normality. And we said here that it is very convenient to assume that this exists, that is, bivariate normality exists. Why did we say so? Because the bivariate normal distribution has the property that the regression of y on x is linear. So without proof, you just assume, you just take it that if there is bivariate normal distribution, that is, y's are distributed normally for each x and x's are distributed normally for each y, then the regression of y on x is linear. That is the important point. And the third one is that we shall also assume that standard deviation of each of the y's for each x are the same regardless of the value of x's. I just had told you earlier that for each x, there is a distribution of y. And if there is a distribution of y, and if not all y's are equal, there will be some standard deviation. We will presume that all standard deviations are equal. And I had promised you that I'll give you the horriblest possible name of this property wherein the distribution of y has same standard deviation for each x. And that is called homoscedasticity or homoscedasticity. Both are correct. Homoscedasticity, which is nothing but property of equal variances or property of equal standard deviations. Why are we calling it homo? Because homo means equal, same, and scedasticity refers to scatter. So that is why we call it homoscedasticity. We are just dealing with assumptions, and very soon we will take up one numerical example to illustrate most of the things, but not all, most of the things that we have discussed so far. Do you have any question up to this point?
Yes, sir. Sir, Saurabh this side.
Yeah.
Sir, in
Yeah.
previous slide, you told that all the variances are equal. I couldn't understand why the variances are equal.
Why the variances are equal?
Yes, sir. You told in previous slide that the variances are equal. So not able to understand that point, like why the variances are equal.
I have not explained why variances are equal. All that I have said is that variances are equal is the assumption, the regression model. I have not said
Why do we need to?
variances are equal. I in fact do not know why this property is assumed that the variances are assumed equal. And if you read this sentence, if the joint distribution is bivariate normal, here we assumed it, bivariate normal. If it is assumed bivariate normal, then standard deviation of the y's for each x will in fact be identical. It just turns out like that. आप समझ रहे हो क्या कह रहे हैं हम?
हाँ जी सर.
मैं कह रहा हूं कि अगर हम ये मान लें कि x का डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हर y के लिए नॉर्मल है और y का डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हर x के लिए नॉर्मल है, मतलब अगर बाइवेरिएट नॉर्मेलिटी है तो फिर अपने आप ऐसा हो जाएगा कि y का जो स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन होगा और x वो हमेशा इक्वली होंगे, वो हो ही जाएंगे. आप समझ रहे हो, वो हो ही जाएंगे.
हाँ जी सर.
ये एक मैथमेटिकल प्रॉपर्टी है उसका.
ओके सर.
हाँ, तो मैंने ये नहीं कहा कि ऐसा क्यों होता है. मैं कह भी नहीं सकता क्योंकि मुझे पता भी नहीं है कि ऐसा क्यों होता है, लेकिन ऐसा होता है, ये पता है. दिस क्लियर?
Sir,
Yes sir.
Yeah.
Sir, when bivariate normality is there, So the variance of y distribution on x and x distribution on y will also be
एक्स
equal,
ऑन
sir.
वाई नहीं बोल रहा है, एक्स
अच्छा,
ऑन वाई बोला, आप में से बोल रहे हो।
हाँ. No, so
अगर
I was telling,
डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन नॉर्मल है
हाँ.
तो वाई का डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन जो होगा उसका वेरिएंस इक्वल होगा फॉर ईच एक्स, लेकिन एक्स का होगा कि नहीं ये नहीं बता रहा है।
Okay, 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 sir.
समझ रहे हो ना आप? मतलब
Yes,
बहुत
sir.
सी चीजें अपने मन में मान लेते हैं, लेकिन वो हो सकता है कि वो नहीं भी हो रहा हो,
गलत भी हो, सर. हाँ, हाँ, हाँ,
है
okay,
ना?
sir.
तो
Yes, sir.
बहुत
Yes.
केयरफुल रहना पड़ता है जब ये हम पढ़ाई करते हैं, तो बहुत
जी.
केयरफुल। ये तपस्या है मेरे दोस्तों, ये बहुत एकदम एक तरह से आपकी तपस्या है। अगर आप इसको तपेंगे नहीं तो आपको नहीं समझेंगे।
Absolutely.
ठीक है,
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
ओके। हम लोग आते हैं
So,
लीनियर लीस्ट स्क्वायर्स की तरफ। अब ये लीस्ट स्क्वायर्स का नाम तो पहली बार आया यहाँ पर। Linear, so we have been discussing that we are assuming that the regression equation is linear. So what is this least square? So let me just try and explain to you. To understand the concept of linear least squares, we have to follow certain number of steps. What is the first step? The first step is to draw a scatter diagram from the data pairs of x and y. And I had told you in earlier classes how to draw a scatter diagram and how does it look like. How does it look like? This is x, this is y. Suppose you have dot here, another dot here. What do these dots show? This dot shows certain value of x, say x1, and a certain value of y, say y1. This dot shows certain value of x, say x2, and this is y2. So basically each dot shows a combination of x and y. Each dot shows a combination of x and y. Okay. Now, so these are the two dots. What if we have a number of dots like this? So this is what we call a scatter diagram. This is a scatter diagram. And how does it help? It helps us to identify whether an association between x and y exists or not. That is all that it does. And then having plotted the scores on a scattergram, also called scattergram or rather scatter diagram, approximate these points by some sort of a best fitting curve. Best fitting curve. Now remember, this is an important word. Best fitting curve. तो मतलब है कि इनमें से कोई ऐसा लाइन हम ड्रॉ करें जो इन डॉट्स को बेस्ट रिप्रेजेंट करे। जैसे अगर हम एक ऐसे लाइन ड्रॉ कर दें तो क्या ये बेस्ट फिटिंग लाइन है, या फिर ये जो ग्रीन लाइन है वो बेस्ट फिटिंग लाइन है, या फिर ये क्या पर्पल कलर है, क्या है ये पर्पल कलर वाला लाइन है वो बेस्ट लाइन है? कौन सा लाइन बेस्ट लाइन है जो इन डॉट्स को रिप्रेजेंट करे?
येलो वन।
येलो
वन
क्योंकि तो बिल्कुल मिडिल में लग रहा है ना?
हाँ सर।
हाँ, तो इसके लिए अभी ये अगर हम ऐसे करके एक ब्लू लाइन खींच दें यहाँ पे, ऐसे करके ये ब्लू लाइन, तो ये तो इतना पास है उस येलो लाइन के कि हम ये नहीं कह पाएंगे कि अब कौन सा बेस्ट लाइन है, येलो है या ब्लू है ना? तो फिर इसीलिए हमारे पास कुछ ऐसा क्राइटेरिया होना चाहिए जिससे हम कह सकें कि हाँ, अब जो लाइन ड्रॉ किया है हमने, दैट इज द बेस्ट फिटिंग कर्व और बेस्ट फिटिंग लाइन। उसी क्राइटेरिया को हम लोग कहते हैं लीस्ट स्क्वायर्स क्राइटेरिया। लीस्ट स्क्वायर्स इज नथिंग बट अ क्राइटेरिया और अ मेथड through which we can find the most, or not most, the best fitting line. That is what is the least squares method. It is also called OLS method, or method of ordinary least squares. And by no stretch of imagination you should ever presume that this happens to be the only method of getting the best fitting line on earth. There are many more methods. But in any preliminary discussion on best fitting curve, the discussion invariably starts with the graph of ordinary least squares. So very briefly we will discuss what is ordinary least squares method, and once again you will have to be at your best in order to understand what I am going to tell you. So one way of doing this is to draw a curve, which in this case is a straight line, by inspection. So the diagram which I have just drawn was drawn on the basis of inspection. We inspected points and we drew a few lines, and then we concluded that one of these lines, the yellow line, is probably the best line. But there are other more precise methods of doing this. One of these methods is called the least squares method, which is what we are going to discuss presently. And this is an example of a scatter diagram, and through the scatter diagram, we have drawn the best line, the regression line. And this time, what regression line is it? Population regression line or the sample regression line?
So sample regression.
Sample.
What makes you think it is sample?
Sir, because A and B are used.
A and B are this.
A, B. Had we been using the term alpha and beta, then that would have shown population best fitting line. So this is the scatter diagram, and we have drawn a line through these scattered points, and we are claiming that this is the line the best fit. No other line, this one or this one or this one, is the best line. Only the black line is the best line. This is what we are saying. So the least squares theory is this, that we shall fit the data with the best fitting straight line according to the least squares criterion. Now we basically wish to know कि criterion है क्या, least squares criterion क्या है. तो उसके लिए हम लोग यहाँ पे ये देखेंगे कि best least squares criterion क्या है. So it will then turn out that A and B obtained by the method of least squares are the most efficient and unbiased estimates of the population parameters alpha and beta. So just pay total attention. I request you to pay total attention. Look, alpha and beta, these are population parameters. But normally we do not study population. Normally we study sample. And on the basis of the study of sample, we draw conclusion about the population. So what we do is, we, instead of alpha, we use A. Instead of beta, we use B. Let me write it with different color. A and B. So A is the estimate of alpha. B is the estimate of beta. Alpha is unknown because it is a population value. And since we have not studied the population, therefore it is unknown. So we are approximating the alpha, or we are trying to guess the best possible value of alpha by using a method called least squares method, and we are estimating alpha by using A, and B is the method, B is the constant which we are using as an estimate of beta. So A and B obtained by method of least square are the most efficient and unbiased estimates of the population parameters alpha and beta. Now, हमने आपको ये नहीं कहा है कि efficiency किसको कहते हैं, unbiased किसको कहते हैं. अभी आप उसको छोड़ दो कि वो क्या है, उसके बारे में हम लोग आपको 2 क्लास के बाद बताएंगे. अभी खाली ये मान के चलो कि A and B are the most efficient and unbiased estimates of alpha and beta, provided the relation is linear and provided you have estimated them using the method of least squares. I understand that this is a little supernatural kind of a thing. आपको शायद बहुत समझ में नहीं आ रहा होगा, लेकिन अभी आपको समझ में आ जाएगा, मेरी ऐसी उम्मीद है. The least squares criterion क्या है? It involves our finding the unique straight line. एक ऐसा straight line निकालना है has the property that the sum of the squares of deviations of actual y from this line is minimum. That is, sum of squares from this line is a minimum. So I'll explain this thing in a short while from now. Just wait for this thing for some more time. And this thing, that's what we have written here, I'll not read it out. I will first show you the diagram and then get back to this slide and then I'll read it out, because then that will make sense. So this is the diagram which you should again pay a lot of attention to. So what does this straight line show? This straight line is the regression line. Regression line. And this regression line says that you can predict the value of y on the basis of different values of x. So let us take this point, which is on the line. What are we saying? What are we saying? We are saying that if x is equal to x1, then we predict that y will be equal to y1. If x is equal to x1, then y will be equal to y1. This is our prediction कि अगर किसी ने 5वीं क्लास पास की है तो उसका इनकम 10,000 महीने का होने का चांस है. ये हमारा प्रिडिक्शन है ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ दिस रिग्रेशन इक्वेशन. लेकिन एक्चुअली उस बंदे का इनकम क्या निकला? ये जो डॉट आप देख रहे हो, ये वाला, ये निकला. और ये जो है वो 10,000 रुपए से कम है. आप देखो यहां पर ये 10,000 है और ये शायद 9,000 है, 9,000. तो हमारा अंतर कितने का आ गया? 1,000 का. एक्चुअल कितना है? 9,000. प्रेडिक्ट कितना किया था? 10,000. तो डिफरेंस कितने का हो गया? -1,000. इसीलिए ये जो आप देख रहे हो ना, एक वर्टिकल लाइन जो कि रिग्रेशन लाइन के नीचे है, दिस वन, ये लाइन, दिस रिप्रेजेंट्स -1,000. तो उसी तरह से ये बहुत सारा वर्टिकल डिस्टेंसेस है. ये है, ये है, यहां है, यहां है, यहां है, यहां है, यहां है. कुछ ज्यादा है, कोई कम है, कोई पॉजिटिव है, कोई नेगेटिव है. तो ये जो आपका अलग अलग वर्टिकल डिस्टेंसेस है, अगर हम इसको ऐड करेंगे तो ये 0 होगा. वही लीस्ट स्क्वायर्स का कैरेक्टरिस्टिक है कि द सम ऑफ y minus yp will be equal to 0. What does yp stand for? Predicted value of y. What does y stand for? Actual value of y. For example, I just told you a few seconds back that let's presume that the actual y is 9,000, whereas predicted y is 10,000, which means that there is a difference of minus 1,000. So in this way, there will be some positive differences, some negative differences. But in the end, if you add up all the deviations, the total will be 0. This is what is the first property of the method of the least squares. And when you square these deviations, so there are many of them. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There are 14 vertical lines, each showing y minus yp. And then you need to square all of them. For example, the first line is minus 1,000. So we have squared it. Let us say this last vertical line stands for plus 200. So then we will square plus 200. So in this way, all these vertical distances will be squared, and then you will arrive at a total. This total will be called summation of the squares of the errors. They are errors in your prediction. So we are only trying to sum the squares of your errors. And we are saying that sum of the squares minimum. और वो अच्छा है ना, क्योंकि एरर तो कम से कम होना चाहिए कि ज्यादा होना चाहिए एरर जितना कम होगा उतना अच्छा होगा, है ना। तो चूंकि एरर सबसे कम इसी में होगा, इसीलिए इस लाइन को हम लोग कहते हैं लाइन ऑफ द बेस्ट फिट, और इस मेथड को कहते हैं मेथड ऑफ लीस्ट स्क्वायर्स, द मेथड ऑफ लीस्ट स्क्वायर्स। तो यहां पे जो हम लोगों ने बताया था आपको, ये अब देखो लास्ट वाला जो, अरे फिर से पीछे चला गया, तो लास्ट पॉइंट बुलेट लोग नहीं पढ़ा था, अब पढ़ो आप। If we draw vertical lines from each of the points to the least squares line, फिर से यहां लेते हैं, ये है y, ये है x, ये है लीस्ट स्क्वायर्स लाइन, ये आपका फर्स्ट, ये सेकंड, ये थर्ड, ये फोर्थ, कोई कम कोई ज्यादा, कोई नेगेटिव कोई पॉजिटिव, इस तरह का जो डिस्टेंसेस है। Thus, if we draw vertical lines from each of the points to the least squares line, and if we square these distances and add, then the resulting sum will be less than a comparable sum of squares from any other possible straight line. From any other possible straight line. मतलब है कि अगर हम लोग इस लाइन के जगह कोई और दूसरा लाइन ड्रॉ कर दे ऐसे करके, और वहां से जो हमको एरर मिलेगा उसका सम ऑफ स्क्वायर्स पहले वाले से इस लाइन से ज्यादा होगा, उसी को हम लोग कहते हैं सम ऑफ y माइनस yp होल स्क्वायर इज, सॉरी नॉट जीरो, इज इक्वल टू मिनिमम, is equal to minimum. So to summarize, what is least squares method? Least squares method has two properties. Property 1, sum of errors should be equal to 0. And what is error? Error is y minus yp. And दूसरा, sum of errors square should be minimum. Should be minimum. जब ये दो प्रॉपर्टीज फुलफिल होती हैं तब हम लोग उसको कहते हैं लीस्ट स्क्वायर्स मेथड। और अंत में आपको ये बता दें आज कि कैसे इसको हम लोग एक न्यूमेरिकल एग्जाम्पल के थ्रू एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं, तब आपका जो लर्निंग है वो सॉलिडिफाई हो जाएगा। सो लेट्स गो to a numerical example. So let us say that this is the data from which we wish to calculate the least squares line. So what is the question? Calculate least squares line or regression line using this data. Now let me explain what this data is all about. X represents the percentage of minorities in certain North Indian cities. Let us say in Lucknow, the percentage of population percentage of population who belong to minority is 2.13%. Let us say in Delhi it is 2.52%. Let us say in Rampur it is 11.86%. Then somewhere else it is 2.55%. So there are 13 cities, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There are 13 cities, and we have collected information on the percentage of minority population in each of those 13 cities. What about Y? What does this Y stand for? Y stands for the difference between majority and minority median income. So suppose in Lucknow, the income of the majority is $1,809 per month, and income of the minority is $1,000. What is the difference between the two? $809 per month. So that is what we have written, $809 per month. What about this 763? This is true with some other city. This 679 is true with some other city, and so on. So what do we intend to do? We wish to find out whether there is a relationship between percentage minority and difference between the majority and minority median incomes. And we are taking this difference between majority and minority median income as a proxy for economic discrimination. As a proxy for economic discrimination. You know, you must have heard of something wherein you are told that companies discriminate among the employees on the basis of not only race, caste, religion, but they also discriminate on the basis of gender. So female workers doing similar work are paid less than their male counterparts. Now, if you calculate the median difference between male income and female income doing similar work, you will be getting what we call a measure of economic discrimination practiced by the companies against their female employees. And not long back, Walmart, which is one of the most valuable companies the whole world has ever seen, the female employees of Walmart had filed a case in Supreme Court of America alleging that the company discriminates against the female employees. Of course, the female employees went on to lose that landmark case, but they always felt that somehow the company is trying to fool them. Somehow the company is exploiting them. They are doing similar work, and sometimes they're doing even more work than their male counterparts, yet they are being paid a lot less than their male counterparts. So, through statistical analysis, you can actually come up with something like this, where you have a proxy for economic discrimination, and you are saying that higher the percentage of minorities in a particular city, the higher the level of economic discrimination, lower the percentage, lower discrimination. So something like this. So that is what we wish to know from this particular set of data. And in order to calculate A and B, we have to simply follow a formula. What is this? What is that formula? There are many formula which you can use in order to calculate A and B. Let's first see what is the formula to calculate B. Look at this, 17.5. You can use this formula. Then B can also be calculated using this formula. And if you feel a little terrorized by the notation and the looks of this formula, you can just simplify it with this one. So this is capital X minus X bar becomes small x. Capital Y minus Y bar becomes small y, divided by capital X minus X bar, again small x, and the rest of the things remain the same. So basically, whenever you have a small x, it actually means X minus X bar. Small y means Y minus Y bar. So if you have X minus X bar whole square, this becomes X square. If you have Y minus Y bar whole square, this becomes Y square. And then for A, you have this formula and this one. There are two formulas to calculate A. All that you need to do is to calculate N, sigma xy, sigma x, sigma y, and sigma x whole square and sigma x square. So basically, this is what you need to do in order to calculate A and B. So these are the diff values. So N is 13. That is, there are 13 pairs of values. And from columns of X and Y, you can calculate sum of Y, sum of X. Then you square Y column, you square X column, and then you calculate the cross product, that is X into Y. For example, in this case, 2.13 into 809, 2.52 into 763, 11.86 into 612. So in this way, I think you should take it as your homework. You just find out whether these numbers are correct or not, and then you put those numbers in the formula, and you get value of B, which is 19.931, and A, which is 561.83. So इतना मेहनत करने के बाद आपको जो चाहिए था वो यहाँ पे मिला, ये आपको चाहिए था जो आपको मिल गया. That YP is equal to, in place of A, 561.83, and in place of B, 19.931 X. और X के जगह आप कुछ भी लिख दो. X अगर 8 है, 8, तो फिर YP कितना होगा? यहाँ पे देखो आप YP कितना होगा, आप लिख करके देख सकते हो. YP होगा 721.28, which means that if someone tells you that, tell me if the percentage minority population in a city is 8, if there is 8% minority population in the city, then what will be economic discrimination in terms of the difference between the median incomes of the minority and majority? So you would say that is $720 in that city. What if this 8 goes on to become 9? Higher the percentage, higher the economic discrimination, because now 721.28 will be added with 19.931, and then whatever comes, add it to 561, and that is what is going to be the new value of economic discrimination. So on the basis of, by replacing various values of X, you can keep calculating the Y, that is economic discrimination. And in order to quickly illustrate that indeed are the values, let me quickly take you to SPSS. This is the data 2.13, 2.52, 1186, 13 pairs of observations. These are the 13 pairs of observations. In order to calculate the A and B, you have to simply go to regression, linear regression. Then dependent variable is economic discrimination, and independent variable is percentage minority. And then you also want to save some predicted values and the errors. Continue. Okay. And there you have the numbers with you. So you can see that the constant is 561.826 and the slope is 19.931. This is the constant, that is alpha, sorry, A, and this is the B, percent minority. And if you go back to the data set, you will find predicted value. This predicted value is 604. कहाँ से आया 604? So जब उस इक्वेशन में हम x को 2.13 के जगह इतना लिख दे तो ये यहाँ आ जाएगा. x की जगह 2.52 लिख दे तो इतना आ जाएगा. x की जगह 11.86 लिख दे तो इतना आ जाएगा. इस तरह से हमारा ये जो वैल्यूज है वो प्रिडिक्टेड वैल्यू हो गया yp, और ये जो है एरर हुआ 204 कैसे आया? एक्चुअल है 809 minus 604 is 204. Actual 763, predicted 612, ये रेसिडुअल 150.9. और इस पूरे कॉलम का जो टोटल होगा वो क्या होगा? 0 होगा. आप यहां से देख सकते हो. रेसिडुअल 2 को आप फ्रीक्वेंसीज में करो. रेसिडुअल 2 अनस्टैंडर्डाइज्ड रेसिडुअल 2 को यहां पे शिफ्ट कर दो. और आपको चाहिए क्या? खाली सम चाहिए और मीन चाहिए. तो मीन उसका 0 होना चाहिए. मीन तो आ गया. देखो मीन आया ना यहाँ पे 0 और सम भी आया 0. मतलब जो सम है एरर का वो 0 होना चाहिए, अदरवाइज वो लीस्ट स्क्वायर्स नहीं होगा. और लास्ट में इस कॉलम को हम लोग को स्क्वायर कर देना है. मतलब 204 into 204, 150 into 150, minus 186 into minus 186, ये स्क्वायर करके फिर डिवाइड करेंगे तो दैट विल बी द लोवेस्ट पॉसिबल वैल्यू. इसीलिए इसको लीस्ट स्क्वायर्स बोलते हैं. थैंक यू वेरी मच. डू यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चन or is it too heavy?
Sir, just provide the meet recording.
Sorry?
Sir, just provide the meet recording.
I will share it with you. I'll share it with the whole class.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Just a moment. Just give me a moment. Just give me a moment. Remember that padhai likhai is not an easy thing. You have to slog. You have to take a lot of interest in it in order to make it count. It's not easy. Okay, so I am now stopping the recording. And this is K. Girish Dev. Is he around? K. Girish Dev?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so please transfer the ownership.